Good morning. I'm out for a training ride and there's not a cloud in the sky. Beautiful conditions. And it's been about a week since my participation in the inaugural Equinox Omniloop. This was world first. The first ever 24-hour 3D time trial. In this video, I'm going to go through my experience participating in the event, the highs and lows of trying to push for 24 hours straight. I'm going to go into detail on what a 3D time trial even is, and if you're interested, just give you a little window into how a 24-hour time trial on a road bike can play out. And most of all, I hope you enjoy the video, and if you're into ultra cycling related videos, then subscribe and follow the channel for more content like this. But that's enough waffle for now. Let's get into the event.
And just follow the road all the way around to the top of Swileysham Lane. You'll see our flag, and that is the point where, if you want to change GPX files without moving back, just pull up onto the verge, change it there, carry on, have fun. And apart from that, just good luck and enjoy it. I will be waiting to get to where I'll make just make sure that's right.
And we are off, folks. About 40 minutes into the first loop, and it looks like pretty much everybody has gone for the big loop to begin with. There's a constant huge stream of riders all the way through. I did see one or two others divert off to the other loops, but this afternoon it's looking like we got some rain for a good few hours. So out here in the sticks, the big loop goes into the countryside. So I reckon everyone's got the same idea: get the big loop out of the way first in the dry. That said, the forecast for this event for a little while was looking pretty dire, and it's actually looking pretty good now. So I was a bit brave and went for no gilet and no jacket to start with, and I'm sweating. It's looking pretty nice so far, so I really hope it stays kind of like this for as much of the event as possible. Would be nice, wouldn't it? This is a beautiful part of England, the Cotswolds. Stunning scenery, but also, like most of England, the architectural changes. The buildings are all made of Cotswold stone, so they have that kind of sandy look about them. Beautiful. I'm noticing every time I get the camera out and film, the gaps get bigger in front of me, so I'm gonna try crack on for a bit and accumulate some points.
So hopefully by now you're all aware that this is one of 4 core trials of a set of ultra events, of which are held on each solstice and equinox, of which are typically in different geographies, different formats, and challenging us in different ways to the other. When I came up with the concept for the solstice series, I wanted to, 1, experiment with new formats as opposed to what we typically see at other events, and 2, to create a platform really for people to really test different parts of their experience and toolkit that they don't normally get the chance to test or practice. And again, I will swiftly move on to the concept of Omniloop. So the concept really came as something I was planning to do, which was a 24-hour training ride, to predominantly give myself the opportunity to ride for, well, through the night, and ideally for 24 hours, but appreciating somewhere in that extreme I'd need to work out where my levels of comfortability and etc. stop and start. And obviously to test myself, my gear, and like I said provide that platform for learning. And it was effectively a challenge on perception of being stationary. And they pointed out these big cosmic movements that we're all part of, but we're just completely oblivious to. So as I reflected on that concept, the two kind of merged, and Omniloop was born really. And I thought, well, why just have a fixed linear time trial? Why don't I create something a bit more dynamic with a bit more strategy and options, and allow myself or others the opportunity to choose where they go. So each orbit naturally has its own properties, and so do the Omniloops. A key challenge to that was trying to work out how to equalize the loops, how to stop 50, 60 odd people just going on the flattest route and just burning around in circles. How could I motivate people to go onto the other loops? And the best way I could find was a point system. And again, I think the Solstice series is quite unique. We're the only ones who have points elements in some of their events, and this one is no other. So that's the reason why we have points, if anyone was wondering, instead of distance, which would have been the natural assumption for a 24-hour time trial. So it just allows for a more supported experience, and again allows people to discover where their safe riding limits are in a more controlled environment.
And the research paid off. What a bonus. That was a town called Winchcombe. I'm about 2.5 hours in now, so I'm guessing about an hour and a half maybe of this loop left. And it's been pretty grippy, and it's going to be just the same on the way back. But before I came out, one thing I was really conscious of was water stops. I can carry all my food for, well, I'm carrying about 12 hours worth, and I'll go in at 10 p.m. and restock for the night. But your water is going to run out constantly, and there are shops. But I was furiously Googling all week, trying to find free water dispensers. There was one in Winchcombe, and it worked. It might not seem like a big deal, but going into a co-op and paying and finding the water and leaving your bike outside over and over again is a pain. So anywhere I can find free water, bonus. And then straight out of Winchcombe onto a climb.
Let's get cracking. This is the big one. This is where I think riders will be tested the most. It's the furthest from HQ, which obviously carries risk. You're going to have to, it's only 100 or so K, so it's not massive, but you know, you'll need to consider what kit you're going to take out depending on the weather conditions and you know, obviously supplies. There will be supply spots, but not many, I suppose. And from here, we start to enter what I see as the proper Cotswolds, and we're going to start rolling through these really nice kind of sandstone, Cotswold stone villages. They're really pretty, and it's pretty steady riding for this first section. For many, it'll be a means to an end to get your stamp in your trials card, and this is probably a good time to mention the requirement of riding loops. So if you are trying to get your trials card completed, which is effectively a brevet card for the Solstice series, and when you complete the minimum requirement for the event, you get a nice little stamp in your book, and you can take it home and show all your friends and family, and you can put it in a frame or put it in the bin or whatever you want to do with it. It's up to you, it's your book. The minimum requirement to get your Omniloop stamp is to ride each loop at least once. You could just sit on the short loop all day long if you want, but you won't get your stamp in your book. Nice, small, pretty villages until we get to Bourton on the Water, which if you've never been to, is a really, really pretty village. On the gradient, we're coming to the big one, the Big Dipper. That's probably caught a few people's eyes, and rightfully so. But this hill is an absolute pain. It gets really hard when the gradient peaks out, but it's completely doable. But then we get onto one of my favorite parts of all of the loops, and that is the White Way that leads into Cirencester, and it's about 10k of steady descent, and you can just absolutely fly, and it's so fun. And then we get back home.
Well, that was a bit silly. I've no idea what grade that was, but that's one of the longest, steepest hills I've been on for quite a while. Wouldn't say I'm the worst climber, but man, that's maybe reevaluate my strategy a little bit. There are a lot more points in this loop, and it kind of makes sense now. Having to do that several times in the next 24 hours. Let's have a little think. I've just gone through the town of Cirencester, so I think I'm pretty close to the end of this loop now. And that was pretty severe, to be honest. More severe than I expected. There's a climb back there. When I had the Insta360 on, it's just the right gradient to be too hard to sit down and climb it. And if you get out of the saddle, the road's too muddy, so you just wheel spin. All you can do is sit and grind your knees. So I think I'm definitely going to do more of that loop. You recover quite a lot on the back end of it. But I'm going to do a medium one next, I think, for a bit of a break. There's the first loop done. Big loop out of the way. That is 10 points in the bag. Not a bad start. So I've gone straight into the medium loop and actually had the first little bout of confusion because all the loops start on the same road. And I presumed coming back that I'd just carry on rolling through. Actually, the medium loop's the same road but goes the other way. So I had to stop and turn around and all good now. But basically that big loop was 74 miles, 4.5 hours, but lots of traffic lights and things and stopping. So I'm going to guess that's going to take roughly about 5 hours a go, pretty much. So say 10 points per loop. I'm going to get about 2 points per hour out of that loop, if I can maintain climbing up those hills too. So onto the medium loop, and let's see how this one goes. I feel like I'm going to be developing my strategy on the fly today.
Medium loop is actually my favourite loop, by the way. In terms of my riding style and how I like to ride and what I like to ride, it just ticked all the boxes for me a while. And that's, I suppose, one of the signature qualities of the medium loop is the fact that we do have these really long roads comparatively to the short loop, where you can just get into a really nice groove and just pedal, and they're generally pretty flat. And generally the surfaces are pretty good as well. And we fly through this countryside. On all of these loops, just be prepared to encounter absolutely every animal in the British countryside. I think over the last month or so since I've been riding these, I've seen pretty much every animal. At least one, maybe two deer running in the hedges next to me was quite a cool experience. An old Saxon town as well. And we go past some really pretty sights, which will just break it up a little bit. It's just slightly downhill all the way to the finish line and in a really nice route. I think it's about 55k, and yeah, it's just really nice, a really nice route by my preferences at least.
Just stopping for a small breather. I haven't actually stopped just for a breather for about 5-6 hours. And so far the medium loop, way more civilized. Just nice rollers. It's quite long. If you really want to be competitive on points, it's become pretty obvious quite quickly riding the loops. You can't spend much time on the small or the medium. They're going to give you a couple of points each. Whereas the big loop, if you've got the legs to sit on that 4 or 5 times over, then you're going to get 50-60 points. Whereas smaller medium loop, you're looking at 20-30 points max, depending on how fast you are. So really you have to wonder, what should my goal be? I wanted to do my best on points really and get the most points I could. I think I'm still going to focus on points, but actually it might be nice just to hammer out as many miles as I can and go on distance. This is a bit more of a satisfying personal goal. You can't come into these races and expect to be up in the top 3, top 10, unless you're really bloody hard. And I'm just not there yet, so I only get as many points as I can, but I'm also just going to stop as little as possible. So I'm just going to spend as much time as I can on the bike and do as many miles as possible. Speaking of which, no idea if he's in the event, but that was a nice bike. Alright, I should keep moving really. Medium loop, done and dusted. That took a tiny bit over 2 hours, roughly, to get 3 points. So it's maybe not quite as bad as I thought. 2 points per hour roughly for the big loop, 1.5 points per hour for medium loop. That's at the pace I'm riding, and I'm riding on average 16 miles per hour. And that includes the big loop, which was much slower. It's now heading into the small loop, See what that works out as. That's 1 point per loop. And it's much shorter, so just see how long it takes and start to develop strategy for overnight, because you can tell from the high-vis harness it's starting to get a little bit dark.
So back to the short loop. This area is incredibly flat. You'll notice the lakes, they're obviously not natural lakes, they're quarries. Quarry is used to gravel pits, effectively, open gravel pits, and they've just, I suppose, terraformed them into lakes. Really lovely area. So as we start the short loop, if I'm honest, I think the short loop is, compared to the other stuff, a little bit boring for me, but it does serve a purpose in that it is short, it's flat, it's relatively easy cycling, and it's going to allow people to keep moving at times if they don't want to stray too far from HQ, or if they are working to a time schedule, for example, and they kind of get back in that area too soon and say, actually, this is only 18k, so depending how tired or fit people are, you're probably looking at 50 minutes or so for a loop, maybe up to an hour if you're taking it steady.
Third and final loop done. So that's the short loop out of the way, and that was about 40 minutes. And the pace I'm riding might be quicker for others, but 40 minutes for me basically means roughly 2 points per hour for the big loop and 1.5 points per hour roughly for the short and medium. So I think what I'm going to do is ride the short and medium for a bit and accumulate points and distance. I think what I'll do is ride till about 10 or 11 p.m, then go back to the HQ, collect all of my food, get some warmer clothes on because it'll be chilly. I think maybe I'll ride the big loop after that, because all that elevation through the early hours of the morning will help to keep me a bit more awake, I hope. And you see more interesting stuff out in the sticks. These short and medium loops are quite close to the headquarters, quite busy. When you're out in the sticks you see more interesting stuff, so let's see if I might give that a go. Oh, and some numbers to ride all 3 loops. That was around about just under 8 hours and 120 miles and 5,500 feet of climbing. That's what it took to ride all 3. That's a third of the event gone just doing that. And it's good if you want to chase the trials, which I might do, then you need to have done all 3 loops on the Omniloop. At least I've ticked that box. We're fully into the evening portion of this now. It's about 10 past 8 p.m, so not very late. But the sun went down an hour and a half ago, and it's just been getting darker and darker. So currently on the medium loop, and this will take me till about 9ish. And then I think I'll probably do 1 or 2 loops on the small loop. On the small loop, take me to around about 10. Take me to around about 10. And then I'm going to go back into the headquarters and restock my stuff, get ready, potholes, get ready for the rest of the night. But I'm feeling pretty good so far. I was suggested to try pretzel thins, the crisp type pretzels. Just take a whole bag of those, they went down really, really well. I'm noticing, weirdly, because I can't see a lot, it's so dark all the time, how much your other senses pick up the slack. I rode past the house and could smell what smelled like the most amazing roast beef. Another red light. Oh well. Gonna crack on. Don't think there'll be much excitement after this for a bit, so I'll talk to you soon. Green light. It's getting a bit late now, folks. 20 past 11 and I'm coming up for 200 miles. And I'm not feeling very good. I know we have our ups and our downs in ultra cycling. It's the way it goes. Mood goes down, mood goes up, and all that. I'm feeling pretty bad right now. Asking myself more and more why I do this. If you remember, if you've been around for a while, when I did a video about riding ultra distance. One of the main things I talked about was you gotta know why you're doing it. That's really what's going to carry you through in dark times like this. Thing is, right now, I don't really have an answer. I'm been into this loop and I've probably got maybe an hour and a half left. It's probably going to take me till about 1, but I'm just really struggling to keep going right now. And all I want to do is go back to the HQ and bend this off. At the moment, whoa, I don't know if you saw that, but that was a barn owl, I think. Good morning. Well, I'm back out on the medium loop, as you can probably tell. Well, on the road, but yeah, it's the medium loop. And had a few hours sleep. I made it pretty clear last night, I was not looking likely to finish the event. Rolling back towards the HQ. So I did one more loop out on the medium course, like I am right now. Push on a bit further, and that's about 2 hours at a decent pace, maybe a bit more at a slow pace, which I was last night. And part way around I just thought I'd get lots of food in me, some water, try and turn the frown upside down. And as I got halfway around, it just got worse, really. Just did not want to be out. So, bit of a downer. So I thought I'm just going to head back to the headquarters and screw this. I'm going to scratch. I remembered I did the same thing at All Points North. And it got tough then and I didn't want to carry on and I scratched. I thought afterwards, why did I do that? I could have just gone to the hotel anyway, slept, and carried on afterwards. So that's what I decided to do. I thought I'd go have a few hours sleep and then just come out for sunrise and do the last 4 hours or so. So here I am. Definitely feel like I'm just turning the pedals right now. I think a few hours sleep is pretty helpful, but in other ways, completely seized up. And my eyes are just streaming, I can't see through all the tears. Not tears, but my eyes are just streaming. So I'm going to get this medium loop in the bag. I'll probably get back at 8:30, 9, and then just do 1 or 2 short loops. Finish the event. It does mean the plan kind of went out the window. Didn't expect to have to sleep. To be honest with you, just salvaging what I could anyway. But yeah, let's get these last few miles in. I'll probably still be finishing somewhere around 270 odd miles, 270, something like that. It's not all bad, is it? I am pooped. Maybe. Almost finished. I've got 45 minutes left of the 24-hour period and I'm on the small loop. I've probably got about 7 miles left of this loop. So this will be the final loop for me and maybe I'll do a little bit more after just to round it up. To the 24-hour mark, why not? I'm feeling much better now. A lot better, but obviously it's the next day. I've had to sleep I've had some food, had my caffeine gels, so feeling a lot better. The wind's picked right up, thankfully. Yesterday, the conditions were basically perfect. So I didn't really have a whole lot to complain about, really. Quite cold in the early hours of the morning, and then I was inside. Let's get this done. Liam's got bacon rolls and coffee on when we get back, so get through this final loop and go for some breakfast. That said, one really cool thing about this event, more often than not, the cool people that you meet, you'll finish at different times, so by the time you get back, they're all gone, especially the ones who win on the fast ones. Because this event is multiple loops, you don't see them for ages, but actually we're all getting back to the same place at exactly the same time. So that's one thing I really love about these events. It's the cool people, and thankfully I'll get to see them all when I get back. So that's really nice. And that is the final loop done. I'm just on the Spine Road East, which is the main road that all the loops go from. And I've got 8 minutes left, so just making the most of the last few minutes to get as much distance as possible. Almost back now, so nearly time for a bacon roll.
Well, I survived the event, but I'd say by the skin of my teeth, pretty much. Going into this event, I had a pretty clear strategy based on quite a lot of research and preparation beforehand. I tried to be ready to be as efficient as possible. I worked out how severe the different loops were and had a pretty good idea of what my game plan would be when I got to the event. But like all strategies, they have a tendency to go right out the window as soon as the event starts. I did all the numbers, I had a spreadsheet, I worked out the severity of each loop. I decided basically the big loop was where you had to be to accumulate the most points. And in my head, I thought if I stick to a sensible heart rate, I could do several of those and do quite well on points. But then, as you've seen when you hit those climbs, keeping a sensible heart rate is easier said than done. Nutrition-wise, fueling, pacing, that all went really, really well actually. Up until the point I was derailed, I was maintaining about 60 miles per hour average, pretty much non-stop, although quite a lot of traffic lights. Pace-wise, I was really happy. I changed the setup of my bike, which you can see behind me. The carbon wheels made a huge difference. I ate really well. I carried all my Velo Forte, plus a lot more, and I was eating around 60-70 grams carbs per hour, refilling my bottles and my strategic water refilling points. That was all going really, really well. Obviously, as you've seen, the plan was derailed in the early hours of the morning. The plan I set myself was to ride all the way through, as many miles as possible, as many points as possible. So when the time came, I had to accept the fact I needed to get off the road. I was completely down and out. Way too hard on myself. I cut quite a bit out of that little monologue, talking about how I couldn't do it for a huge amount longer. Believe me, it got a lot darker. I was ready at that point to quit racing altogether, never do a race again. I was going to make a YouTube video about why I can't race, why I'm crap at it. I had it all planned out during that loop. And then when I got back to the headquarters and sat and chatted to Liam and a couple of others, I felt way better. I think sometimes when you're out on a cold, dark country lane, all you've got is pitch black and that little circle of white light from your light in front of you. All you have for company are your thoughts. If you even have a small amount of demons affecting you, then that has the potential to completely derail you unless you're able to turn it around. And in that moment, I couldn't do it. In reality, I've tried to ride through the night quite a few times in the last couple of years and can't always seem to do it. So entering a 24-hour race might have been setting myself up to fail a little bit. I probably just need to set more realistic goals. And on top of that, I'd say me choosing to ride a 100-mile time trial 5 days before this, going all out, was probably not my most sensible idea. Either way, I've had a week, 10 days to recover now. The first few days after the event, I was pretty depressed. And then after that, just got better and better. That's the reality of it for me. I'm just a bit too hard on myself. But what I want to say about the Omniloop, it was a fantastic event. You can really tell Liam put a huge amount of energy and care into creating such an amazing event. If you've ever wanted to challenge yourself to ride in 24 hours and you want to do it around some pretty amazing people, then ride the Omniloop or maybe one of the other Solstice Series events. Doing this kind of sport, it can be pretty scary, but an event like this makes it far more accessible for more people. Overall, I had a great time in the Cotswolds. The next thing on the cards for me is Be Hard in June, and then the Via Race in July. I've got a couple of months with not a lot to do, so if you've got any ideas of things I can turn up to, rides I can do in the meantime, then let me know below. If you watched until now, then, as always, thanks for sticking around, and I hope you got something out of this. I will be back to putting a video out every Thursday, so look after yourselves, and I'll see you all in the next one.